So find a comfortable position sitting, wherever that is for you. So it helps my hips to be a little more comfortable if my hips are elevated. So whether it's a bolster or a folded blanket, or if you want to be in a chair, any of those are fine. So we're going to start seated. And as I was deciding on what the theme would be for today, first thing that came to mind was, well, the best things in life are free, right? So yoga is free today. And think about all the other things in life that make it worth living, that we can appreciate every day that are totally free. Smile of a friend, or catching a hummingbird on a flower. Just find something in our mind that we've experienced in the last day or so that we can feel that gratitude for. And just breathe it in. Take a big breath in. Long, slow breath out. And for me, if I'm stressed or just need to settle in, it really helps to do some movement with that breath. So I like a big inhale, shoulders up. And an exhale, shoulders back and down. Try that again. Inhale up. Noisy, back and down. And we'll just settle into that yogic breaths in and out through the nose. Eyes can be opened or closed if that's comfortable.
Your father's been researching our genealogy. We're Vikings.
Okay. There we go. I think they're in with sound. Fantastic. So ladies, we were just taking some big breaths and getting settled in and recognizing that the best things in life are free. And just taking a moment to reflect on something that happened in our last couple days. Totally free, that maybe at the moment we didn't recognize it as joyful, but thinking back, maybe it can bring a smile to us now. I'm thinking, I'll just share. I'm thinking of my crazy puppy at Hashua yesterday, rolling with glee in a very stinky something. He was thrilled. I wasn't so much at the moment, but thinking back on it, it's funny. It brings lightness to my mind, to my heart. Totally free. So from our comfortable seated position, think about adding a little extra length to our spine, as if we have a string attached to the top of our head. See if we can soften our shoulders down away from our ears. See if we can release any tension that might be in our face, at our jawline. Even a little massage can help release any tension maybe between the brows, just softening there as well. So we're going to change our seated position and bring our feet in front of us. And just let our arms kind of dangle over our legs. So hands are relaxed. And we're going to begin to warm up the spine. So this is like our cat and our cow pose. So for our cat, we're going to tuck our tailbone under and drop, pull our belly in and drop our chin toward our chest. And for our cow, we're just going to go back to that tall position and then push our chest forward a little bit. We can grab a hold of our knees and pinch our shoulder blades. So we're going to connect breath to that movement. So into our cat on the exhale and cow on the inhale. And continue that flow at our own pace. Inhale to lift the heart. Exhale to gently round the pelvis, gently pull the belly in, pull the shoulder blades away from the spine. Just one more. We'll meet sitting tall again. And we're going to prepare our bodies for a little tiny twist. So we're still warming up, so we're definitely not going to force that twist. We're only going to go as far as we do without adding resistance or pressure with our hands, just as far as we go naturally. So we're going to twist from that rib cage and up, so the hips stay fully rounded. Oh, there's some creature has joined us. I believe it's Mom, coming to the light. So we're going to keep that length in the spine and gently twist to one side. So imagine there's a plumb line that drops from the crown of our head to our tailbone. So there's no tilt to the side at all. It's just a small rotation. On our inhale, we're going to come back to center. And on the exhale, we'll twist again. Inhaling to center, exhaling to gently twist. So check that the shoulders stay parallel to the ground, that we're not doing a lean. We're going to add in a little bit of arm movement as well. So on the inhale, let's bring our arms up. And on the exhale, we'll gently twist and drop the arms. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, gently twisting. Just one more time. And we'll meet back where we started, sitting nice and tall. And let's check in again with a little memory, a little thought, something free that can bring us some joy, a little breath of gratitude. And then we're going to change position. So if we were on a blanket or a bolster, we're just going to push that off to the side. We're going to prepare to come down onto our backs. So we could extend one leg, grasp behind the other. We'll meet down on the floor with our knees bent. And we're going to walk actively, our shoulder blades down away from our ears. And just check alignment. So ears are in line with the shoulders, hips are in line with the shoulders, knees and ankles in line with the hips. And we're going to work our pelvis again. So see if we can tilt back, just like we did in that cat pose. And now press our low back into the ground, just a little. And then we'll release that, coming back to that neutral pelvis position. And we're going to connect the breath to that movement as well. So on the exhale, we're going to rock back. Inhale to neutral. Try that a few times. And just notice, where do you naturally engage to make that movement? What muscles are tightening? So it might be the glutes, it might be the abdominal muscles. So now we're going to try to isolate it just a little. So see if we can pull our belly button straight down toward our spine, first without movement of the pelvis. So just pull the belly button straight down. We'll inhale, soften, releasing that. And over the next few exhales, see if we can gradually increase the intensity of that abdominal contraction. Think about pulling the bottom ribs down toward the hips. Good, so now have hopefully awakened those abdominal muscles if they weren't already, and now we're going to try to engage them. That's what's going to initiate that pelvic tilt. So on our exhale, we'll gently rock the hips back, drawing the belly in. And inhale, soften. Back to our neutral pelvis. Going at our own pace, following our own breath. And we'll meet back where we started. I like to begin every yoga class with some awareness of engaging those muscles, because engaging those muscles is what's going to keep us safe when we are in our postures standing. So now we're going to shift the muscles that we engage to do that same pelvic tilt movement. So now we're going to see if we can engage the butt, the glute muscles, in order to do that same rock back. So we'll inhale, release, and exhale, squeeze, and tip backwards. Just a little bit. Pressing the low back into the mat. And just one more of those pelvic tilts engaging the glute muscles. Then we're going to add a little bit more movement. So again, we just want to check we have that same alignment, that our feet haven't accidentally walked out or in, that our ankles are still in line with knees and hips. And we're going to prepare for our bridge pose. So with our bridge, we're going to keep the pelvis in a neutral position, engage the belly muscles, press the feet into the floor as the bottom lifts away from the ground. So while we're up here, just notice
Have we rolled out toward our pinky toes or in toward our big toes? Or is our weight pretty well evenly distributed? That's what we're aiming for. And we want to keep our nose at our midline, resisting the urge to look right or left at the camera, at the video screen. So on our next exhale, we're slowly going to come back down. So each time we move, it'll be on our exhale. We'll inhale either at the top or the bottom. So inhaling to prepare and exhale, lifting up. Inhale at the top. And exhale, slowly come down. Now we can stay with this movement following our own breath. If we would like to add movement of the arms, we can do that as well. So then we would add the arms, they can come straight up overhead, palms facing each other, or we can bring them all the way overhead with the thumbs reaching toward the ground. And again, we flow on the exhale. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, engaging the abdominal muscles, lifting the bottom away from the ground. And you can decide whether you want to flow with the arms or not. And we'll meet back where we started. We're going to bring left leg in toward our chest and just circle our toes. We're warming up the ankles. We're going to take that circle clockwise and counterclockwise. And we'll extend that leg up toward the sky, reaching with the heel, pulling the toes toward the shin. And on our exhale, we'll push the toes toward the sky. And just connecting the breath even to that tiny little movement, inhaling the toes toward us, and exhale, pushing them away. And we can return that foot to the floor. We're going to take the same thing to the other side, bringing the knee to the chest, circling the toes clockwise and counterclockwise. And we'll reach the heel toward the sky, pulling the toes toward the shin. And on our next exhale, we'll push the toes away and continue that flow following our own breath. And returning that foot to the floor. We are then going to come back to our bridge pose. Check our alignment. Knees and ankles in line with the hips and shoulders. Shoulders actively down away from our ears. And we're going to go into that bridge pose once again. Option to use the arms or keep them by our sides. Drawing the belly in on the exhale. And lifting the bottom away from the ground. And we're going to add the option of one more option. The option of one more option. Here we are. So we could bring the foot away from the ground. We're not going to bring that knee too close toward our chest. We're just going to let it stay right over the hip. But again, that is an option. Inhaling and exhaling. See if we can keep our hips as steady as possible. And let that breath flow. Inhaling and exhaling. So now probably our belly is engaged with both the inhale and exhale just to keep us steady. Again, that one leg lift is not required. We can go back to the same bridge that we were doing earlier with or without the arms. Your choice. And we'll meet back where we started on the ground. And checking in. It doesn't cost us a penny just to lay here and relax and breathe and give ourselves the gift of time. Time just to be. So now we're going to shift to our side and then transition onto hands and knees. So we'll check that the crease of the wrist is under the shoulders and the knees are under the hips. Our fingers are actively spread, pull our shoulders back and down. And on our exhale, we're going to see if we can pull our belly pretty forcefully away from the ground. So now we're working against gravity. We have to work a little harder to engage those belly muscles. So without any movement in the spine or the hips, just pulling the belly away from the ground with each exhale. And now we're going to sink back into our child's pose. And this is our relaxed child's pose. So our knees are going to be spread. We got plenty of room for our belly. We can rest our head on stacked hands or fists. And we're just going to enjoy the breath here. And notice how perhaps it feels a little bit different. We might feel it go deeper into our lungs, feel it expand into our back. And we'll bring our knees back underneath us and extend our arms completely now. Fingers are actively spread, elbows are off the ground. And we're going to shift forward into our kneeling plank. So the shoulders will move beyond the crease of the wrist. And now we're practicing holding the belly up with both the inhale and the exhale. Feel the shoulder blades pull down toward the hips. So they're not up here, they're actively backing down. We're just holding our breath, or holding our belly in while the breath flows. So on our next exhale, we're going to push back and meet in our child's pose. And let's flow with our breath here. So we'll inhale forward and exhale back. So now we're practicing pulling the belly in on the inhale and relaxing on the exhale. A lot of thought goes into what our muscles are doing. But that's the joy of yoga and mind-body activity. Keeps us in the present. Inhaling and exhaling. And we'll stay back in our child's pose, meeting there. And with our arms extended and fingers actively spread, we're going to tuck our toes. Then our elbows probably go to the floor. But the reason we started there is because we're preparing for our down dog. And that's a good place for our hands and feet. So we tuck our toes and lift our hips. Now we're gazing back at our toes, relaxing through the head and neck. Fingers continue to be actively spread. Still trying to keep that distance between the ears and the shoulders so we don't sink down. Really actively pushing the hands into the ground. And now we're going to shift our weight forward and bring shoulders beyond the crease of the wrist. So we can move into our full plank or our kneeling plank. So if we've chosen kneeling plank, our flow here is going to be to inhale forward and exhale back. So kneeling plank to child's pose. If we've chosen full plank, we can inhale forward and exhale to down dog. And we can mix it up a little bit if we'd like as well. We're all going to meet again in our child's pose. Let's make it that relaxed child's pose. We'll spread the knees, find a comfortable place for our forehead, and check in again with the breath. And the knees are going to come back underneath us. We're going to extend the arms and spread the fingers. We'll tuck our toes and lift our hips to down dog. And this time we're going to move into our three-legged dog as an option, lifting the right foot away from the ground, engaging the belly muscles, nice and slowly lifting the foot away from the floor. It could lift an inch away from the floor. It could go higher, your choice. Belly's pulled in. Strengthen the opposite hip, balancing, keeping us safe. And we're going to return that foot to the floor and take the three-legged dog to the other side. Belly is engaged with both the inhale and the exhale. And returning that foot to the floor, let's walk our dog. Now we're going to inhale up onto the balls of our feet, exhaling one heel toward the ground as we bend the opposite knee. Now we're going to shift our weight forward into our plank or our kneeling plank. And we're going to lower down to the ground just as safely and slowly as we can. So the belly pulls in, the arms hug the body. We meet on the ground. And we're going to come to a baby cobra. So we lift our nose away from the ground, but the work is coming in the muscles in the back, not in our hands. The belly's pulling in. We're keeping length in the back of our neck. So we're just gazing off at the edge of the mat, not to the opposite wall, because that would just compress the cervical spine. We want to keep length there. The arms continue to hug the body. Let's pull the legs together, bringing the inner thighs closer. And on our exhale, we're going to meet in our reclined crocodile. So the elbows go out to the side, we turn our head to rest an ear on the back of our hands. And again, we're going to move to our cobra, our baby cobra. So thumbs are under the chest, hands are under the shoulders. We inhale, lift our nose away from the ground, arms hug the body, legs pull together. And on the exhale again, into our reclined crocodile with our head turned the other way. And again, one more option. We could continue with the baby cobra, or we could move into locust. With locust, we reach our fingertips toward our heels. We lift our toes away from the ground. The belly pulls in. The front of the pelvis and the ribs are connected to the floor. We still feel that length in the spine. The shoulder blades actively pull down toward the bottom of the body. That breath flows in and out through the nose. We'll bring hands underneath the shoulders, and we'll meet back in our child's pose. And we'll tuck our toes and lift our hips and meet in our down dog. Now we're going to take our right leg and lift it away from the ground like we're in our three-legged dog. And then we're going to aim it between our hands. So see if we can get our foot there. Doesn't make it on the first try, we can just wiggle the toes. We can help it along. We're going to end up with our knee over our ankle and our hands framing the front foot. So we're reaching that back heel for the wall behind us. And let's move into a lunge with a twist. We're going to bring right hand toward the right hip, and top shoulder over bottom shoulder. We can extend that arm overhead. It's actually so bright. Hard to see. Then we'll come back out of our twist, hands again framing the front foot. And we'll step the front foot back to our down dog. Same thing to the other side. Inhaling the left foot away from the ground, stepping forward, meeting with the knee over the ankle and the hands framing the front foot. And we'll move again into a twist. Hand comes to the hip, top shoulder over bottom shoulder, extending the arm if we'd like. And we'll slowly come out of that twist, hands again framing the front foot and stepping the back foot forward into our forward fold. So in our forward fold, our feet are hip width apart, our knees are slightly bent so that our belly is kind of resting on the thighs. And while we're upside down, let's give our neck a little break, just nodding our head yes, shaking our head no. So using gravity to our advantage here, just letting all the muscles in the neck and face soften. And after we're upside down for a bit, it is a good idea to come up slowly. So we're going to move to our monkey first, hands to our shins, bringing length to our spine, bringing our head above our heart. And then we'll take a deeper knee bend, sinking our hips. We'll inhale our arms up overhead and exhale them to our sides. We're standing tall in our mountain. So in our mountain, our shoulders are back and down. Our feet are hip width apart. So not hip muscle, but hip bone. So right here, straight down, it would intersect with the second and third, the space between the second and third toes. So in our mountain, let's just think about alignment from the ground up. So we have our feet in the proper position. We have a little tiny bend in our knees, just so they're not hyperextended and locked, a micro bend. Then we think about a lift in our pelvic floor. So these are our Kegel muscles, and yoga we call them our mula bandha. So we're gonna lift those muscles up. And then we're gently gonna draw our belly in. And we actively pull the shoulders back and down and place our palms forward. And just test and see how it feels for a moment, just to briefly close the eyes. How does that impact our balance? Do we feel safe there? So we want to find that just right challenge, something that's not too hard, not too easy, as we're looking for generally in the class. And we're listening to our body, taking ourselves out of any pose that's uncomfortable, choosing the one that is, again,
the just right challenge, that Goldilocks zone. So we can really put our mind into our mountain pose. We could just stand there, but that doesn't feel the same as standing there. To stand and know that we're standing. Our mind is really in it. So we're going to come to the front of our mat in our mountain pose. And we're going to move through a sun salutation. You've done almost all of the poses already, but we're going to go over the forward fold to start, because this is a hip hinge where we bend the knees like somebody's poking us right here. And we want to keep our back straight, so we're not doing it straight legs. So we inhale our arms overhead, and we exhale swan dive, hinging at the hips, bending at the knees, and bringing our belly toward our thighs. And then to reverse that swan dive, we just take a deeper knee bend, inhale up, and we'll come back to our mountain. Let's just do that one again. Inhaling up. Exhale, swan dive into our forward fold. We'll take a deep knee bend, reverse our swan dive up, and come back to mountain on the exhale. One more time like that. Inhaling up. Exhale, swan dive into our forward fold. Take a deep knee bend, reverse our swan dive up, and exhale to mountain. Now we're also going to add in a chair pose. So let's inhale our arms overhead. And on the exhale, we're going to swing our arms around and come to our heart and sink our hips back. So we want to make sure that our knees stay behind our toes and that they're again tracking in the middle, that we haven't rolled out toward our pinky toes or in toward our big toes. And that most of our weight is on our heels. We could wiggle our toes. Shoulders are back and down. Careful, our tailbone not lifted too high, but we have that neutral pelvis that we started with on the ground. So from our chair, we're just going to come back to our mountain. And we'll do that again, inhaling arms up. Exhale, sweeping them down into the heart and sinking into our chair. If it's okay on our neck and shoulders, we could extend the arms out overhead. So you can just do a test run if you feel tension in the shoulders or neck. Then hand at the heart is a better option. We'll try that one again, inhaling up. Exhale, sinking into our chair. One more time, inhaling up. And exhale, sinking into our chair. And we'll meet back in our mountain. We're going to connect the chair and the forward fold. Inhaling arms overhead. Exhale, swan dive into our forward fold. We'll take a deep knee bend, reverse our swan dive up, and exhale to our chair pose. Inhale, meeting back in our mountain. On our next inhale, sweeping arms overhead. And exhale, swan dive into our forward fold. We'll take a deep knee bend, reverse our swan dive, inhaling up, and exhaling to chair. And we'll meet back in our mountain. And one more, inhaling arms overhead. Exhale, swan dive into our forward fold. Take a deep knee bend, reverse our swan dive. Inhaling up, exhaling to chair. And meeting back in our mountain. Now we'll step close to the front of the mat. Go to this side. And we'll inhale our arms overhead. Exhale, swan dive into our forward fold. And step our right foot back. So hands are framing that front foot again. And we'll step our left foot back into our down dog. Inhaling into our plank or our kneeling plank or our full plank. And on our exhale, we're going to slowly lower to the ground. Inhaling for cobra.
Exhaling into child's pose, and then shifting into our down dog. On our next inhale, we're going to step that right foot forward. And on the exhale, the left foot forward. And we'll take a deep knee bend and reverse our swan dive, inhaling up and exhaling to our chair. And meeting a mountain. Standing tall. Perhaps just closing the eyes briefly. And inhaling arms overhead, we'll take the sun salutation to the other side, swan dive into our forward fold. And stepping the left foot back into our low lunge. And the right foot back for our down dog. Inhaling into plank or kneeling plank. Exhale, slowly lowering. Inhaling into our cobra. Exhaling through child's pose into down dog. Stepping the left foot forward on the next inhale, and the right foot forward on the next exhale. We'll take a deep knee bend, reverse our swan dive up, inhaling, and exhaling to chair. And we'll meet back in our mountain. Stand and know that we're standing. Checking in bottom to top. Knees or feet, knees, pelvic floor, belly, shoulders, crown of the head. Now, one I forgot to mention earlier is ears. So we often have a tendency to bring our head forward. It's just the nature of our world with driving and texting and being on the computer. Our head just moves forward. So we think about shoulders backing down and ears over the shoulders. And sometimes actively giving ourselves a double chin can help the alignment of the spine and allow us to feel a little more length in the neck. So we don't have to hold that double chin for long, just as a reminder. Sliding the chin back, feeling that extra length in the spine, and then softening. Now we're going to bring the feet all the way together. We're preparing for our chair with a twist. So when we sink into our chair pose, we're going to imagine that our knees are right against the wall, and we have to keep them touching against that wall. So we don't want to shift forward or back with our hips or our knees or our toes. Again, this twist just comes from the rib cage. So we'll inhale our arms overhead and exhale, sink down into our chair. And on our next exhale, we're going to take that twist. Toes, knees, hips, stay right where they are. We'll inhale back to center and exhale, twist the other way. And we'll meet back in standing. We can bring our feet hip width apart. And from our mountain pose, we're going to step our right foot back into our warrior two. So our toes are now going to face the long edge of the mat on that back foot. Our shoulders are relaxed. Our fingertips are extending in opposite directions. And we're going to flow a little bit with our breath as we bend and straighten that front knee. So we'll inhale and exhale. Remembering to engage the abdominal muscles. Perhaps we can add a little lift to the pelvic floor. So just kind of zipping things up from bottom all the way to the bottom of the sternum. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to bend. Now we're going to come and turn all 10 toes toward the straight edge of the mat. We'll bring hands to our hips. Check in with that breath again. And we're going to turn, take the same thing to the other side. So now we're in our warrior two, facing the other direction. Shoulders are soft. Energy is being sent out through the fingertips. And we can hold here if we'd like, or we can flow with the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And once again, we'll turn all 10 toes toward the straight edge of the mat and bring hands to our hips, relaxing our shoulders, and we're preparing ourselves for our wide leg down dog. So we're going to hinge forward, walk our hands away. Looking back between our feet, relaxing the head. Now let's walk our hands toward our left leg and bring our belly toward our left thigh. So just feeling a gentle stretch of the back of that leg. And we'll walk our hands through the middle and take the same thing to the other side. We'll come back to the center. We're going to bring heels and toes in until our feet are underneath our hips. Again, just nodding the head and shaking it. So a gentle yes and a gentle no, just to let gravity release tension from the face and the neck. And we'll bring hands to our shins, into our monkey pose, bringing the head above the heart. And we'll take a deep knee bend and reverse our swan dive, inhaling arms overhead and exhaling to our mountain. And we're going to do one balance pose before we go to the floor for some stretching and our shavasana. So my favorite is our tree. So we're going to shift to one foot and bring the other heel just to rest gently on the inside of the calf. We're really going to engage those muscles, so trying to pull muscles closer to the bone in the thigh, in the hip, in the belly, hands can start at the heart. And then we can decide whether those toes come off the ground or not. We feel that breath flowing in and out through the nose. So finding a drishti, which is a gaze, a gentle, soft gaze on a diagonal down and away from us. Just to focus on something stationary is helpful with our balance poses. And we can slowly meet back in our mountain and take the same thing to the other side. So we'll take a shift to the other foot, engage all those core muscles, and then decide whether that foot should come off the floor or not.
Meet back in our mountain. We'll come to the front of our mat and inhale our arms overhead and exhale swan dive into our forward fold. And we're going to come down to the floor. We'll extend one leg, grasp behind the other, and draw our belly in. Slowly rolling down to the mat. And again, we're going to come with our feet to the ground and our knees bent. And let's bring both knees to our chest and make circles with our knees, just massaging the low back into the ground. Feel that breath flowing in and out through the nose. And we'll return feet to the floor. And let's just bring one knee toward the chest again, circling the toes, clockwise and counterclockwise. Extending that heel toward the sky and gently bringing the leg a little closer to us so we feel length in the back of the leg. Remember that chin tuck so we feel length in the back of the neck. Feeling the breath flowing in and out through the nose. And then into our reclined pigeon. We're going to cross that ankle so it hangs over the edge of the opposite thigh. If we feel a nice gentle stretch at the outside of the hip, then that is a good place for us to stay. We keep the foot flexed, so pulling the toes toward the shin. That helps to protect the knee. If we'd like more of a stretch in the hip, we can reach between the legs and bring that thigh a little closer to the body. And we can slowly return that foot to the floor and uncross the leg. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, bringing the knee to the chest and circling the toes, clockwise and counterclockwise. Extending the heel toward the sky. And with the toes pulling toward the shin, let's gently bring the leg in a little closer to the body. Remembering that chin tuck so we still feel length in the neck. See if we can relax into that stretch, just long and slow exhale, gently bringing the leg a little closer. And again, when we're ready, into our reclined pigeon with the foot flexed. Keeping that foot grounded or reaching behind the thigh to bring the leg a little closer. So then we're slowly going to come out of that pigeon and uncross the legs. If there's another stretch that you know you would like to do before you settle into your Shavasana, go ahead and take the time to do that. If you have a block with you and you want to do a restorative bridge, that's one of my favorites. If you like the happy baby, that's another great one where you're just rolling side to side, kind of laying, bending, straightening the legs. Or any other stretch you'd like to do. And eventually we'll meet together in our favorite position for Shavasana.
So again, we have options here. We could have legs fully extended. We could have the knees bent and out to the edges of the mat with the knees together. Sometimes people like that. That feels a little better sometimes on the low back. If you happen to have a chair or a wall nearby and you want to prop your feet up on the chair or get real close to the wall and have your legs up the wall, that can feel amazing too, especially after a day of being on your feet. So after your final stretches, we'll settle into our final relaxation. And we'll again just check in with the shoulders, that they're down away from the ears, that the muscles in our face are relaxed. And where do you feel your breath most obviously at this point? Do you feel it at the nostrils? Or at the chest? Or the belly? So for wherever it is that you feel it for the next several minutes, we're just going to gradually, or repeatedly, I should say, bring our attention back to the feeling of the breath. So as our mind wanders away, as it will, just returning it to the sensation of the breath. So that feeling of the breath, whether it's at our nose, chest, or abdomen, is always with us. It's free. The best things in life are free. Let's begin to wiggle our fingers and toes. Take a big inhale and a long, slow exhale. And we'll roll to our side and use our top arm to push ourselves up, and we'll meet again in that comfortable seated position. And with lengthen our spine, we'll inhale our arms up. And exhale, fingertips and hands to our heart. May the light in me honor the light in you. Namaste.